I remember in that time from when I quit teaching until I found the academy, I had my list of things that I wanted. I wanted something where I didn't have to go somewhere to work. I could work from home, that didn't require me going back to school, that had unlimited potential for financial freedom. And I was
Mhm.
like,
That's going to be
that
hard.
is not possible. Like something like that does not exist. And then there it was. And I remember like I saw your YouTube ad when I was watching, probably I was about to watch probably a mom video of like cleaning her house or something. And I just remember being like, it's possible. And it just like, I can't explain what it felt like to see that commercial and how it was like this burden off my shoulders, even just seeing it. And I thought about it for a couple of days, and um it was a stretch for me to envision myself not only as a business owner, but in, like I said, in finance with numbers. But it like makes me want to hide a little bit to say it, but I feel like I'm good at what I do. And
Mhm.
it's a skill that I would have never, ever known that I had.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Stay at Home Bookkeeper Academy podcast. We empower busy moms and aspiring entrepreneurs to start a thriving bookkeeping business from home with practical tips, expert interviews, and real life success stories.
Thank you for tuning in. I have Kate with me here today, and we are going to talk about her journey into becoming a bookkeeping business owner. And I believe your previous background, Kate, was teaching, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about all of that today. I'm really super excited. The first thing I always like to do and start off these interviews is to find out why you wanted to leave teaching and start a bookkeeping business in the first place. So what was your main reason for that?
Well, I had a couple reasons, but mostly it came down to I had been a middle school and high school teacher for 11 years and was burned out by the time I started my third year of teaching. But persevered because I was the major breadwinner and felt like it was my calling. But when I was pregnant with my second kid, who is almost 2, he'll be 2 in 2 weeks, I had negotiated my maternity leave, and to summarize, it was cut short, and I was scheduled to come back a month and a half earlier than had been planned, and that was kind of the last nail in the coffin. And so instead of going back to what would have been my 12th year of teaching, I turned in my resignation instead. I was tired of being away from my house and my family and my soon to be 2 kids, and wanted something that had a little bit more flexibility. And so I quit teaching without having the next plan set in stone. In fact, no plan at all. But I knew that teaching in a classroom was no longer in the cards for me. So I instead flailed for a
Yeah.
couple of months
Yeah.
until the next step.
Okay, awesome. So I kind of did the same thing with my situation as well too. When I had my third child, I was like done as well. And I quit before really having a solid game plan or having any clients. I knew I was going to start my bookkeeping business because of my background, but I didn't have any clients yet or anything. So
Mhm.
how did that work with your family? What were you guys nervous about finances, and like what was kind of going through your mind during that time?
Oh man, yes, very nervous about it. We went from me being, like I mentioned, the major breadwinner to my husband. He started a new job when my son was about a month old, and fortunately it paid better than his previous job did, but it was not enough to cover our family's expenses. And so I found a couple odd jobs here and there, which helped, but it was really scary. And when I ultimately found your program and started my own bookkeeping business, it took me a while to get a couple clients. And so we really had to scrape and scrimp for about a year, honestly, until I was able to make a little bit more and catch up from those dead months.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I could call it.
Yeah. So did you guys have to cut back, or were you kind of going through some savings or a little
Yes, and yes. And yeah, we had to it was really hard. I have never had to do that since becoming a mom, like definitely in my single life when I was figuring life out and becoming a grown up and realizing that being a grown up didn't mean spending every penny you had, but it was like, yeah, we had to evaluate every month if there was anything that we could delete from our expenses. But it was also, I mean, it was a really important time, and it was like, you know, very timely becoming a bookkeeper, like being so micro aware of every dollar that we spent as a family was very educational, and I think like in the scheme of things only served our family to be more aware of what our finances are.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You're able to like apply that skill to your personal life as well. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know we'll get into the numbers here in a little bit, but has your bookkeeping business helped you go from, penny pinching and draining down your savings to like being able to like live more freely now and like have some more in savings and stuff like that?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And it has been really fun to, like, when I was getting all of my numbers ready to look at it, and like I have always been aware as my business has grown from month to month, but I honestly like hadn't sat down to look at the whole picture until I sat down to get ready for this interview. And even I would say like since about maybe September, October of last year through present day is when my clientele has really grown and solidified, and my like confidence in my skill as a bookkeeper has grown quite a bit as well. And yeah, like we put my daughter in a private preschool, and it was like my mission. She started in August, and it was my mission that every month we were able to comfortably afford that, like my manifesting statement, not just to be able to pay for it, but to be able to do it comfortably. And that has come true. And so it has definitely like freed up a lot in our lives, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the things that I always love the most about showing people how to start their own business is then they realize that whatever you do want for your family, for your kids in life, you can manifest it. You just go get another client and here you are able to pay for that thing.
For sure. Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So we know your background, you were teaching. Did you ever do any bookkeeping or ever use QuickBooks Online before starting your business?
Absolutely not. It was a completely new field. And if I had seen myself entering a field of finances and numbers, that absolutely would not have been something I would have seen for myself.
What do you think makes someone like you having a teaching background like ideal for doing something like this?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I would say, we teachers, once and always a teacher, I would say, have to have really good attention to detail, and whether we want to or not, need to mind all of the little parts that make up our profession. And teachers also have to be really good planners and have to follow through on those plans that they make, right? Like you can't just plan something and then hope for the best. And I remember like when I was making my resume for any potential client that would ask for it, I looked at my students' report cards as a profit and loss. And
Oh, nice.
because it totally fits if you think about it. And so I think that there is, and I know that like in the community of the bookkeeping academy, there are quite a few teachers. And
Mhm.
so I think that, you know, I taught English language arts, nothing related to money and finances at all, but it absolutely translates. And I think, yeah, just the complete dedication to follow through from, you know, moment of creation to the end, like is if for sure something that translates into bookkeeping and business owning for sure.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Okay, so like in your words, why do you feel like you don't really need to be good with numbers or good at math or interested in finance to be good as a bookkeeping business owner?
It's a really good question. And it's honestly something that a lot of my business owners, especially women, they say things like, oh, I'm just not good with numbers, or I'm just not good with money. And I'm like, so that is not what bookkeeping is. It's, I think bookkeeping, people associate the little, you know, the like bookie guy with the green visor sitting in the
Right.
little corner with terrible lighting, who never goes home. That's what they associate as a bookkeeper or an accountant, but that is absolutely not what it is. And I think that bookkeeping, you know, being good with money or being good with numbers is only going to help, but that will help no matter what profession you're in. And so I think like what has made me good at my job is, of course, a willingness to learn. You can't do it without it. But I think what makes a good bookkeeper is attention to detail and organization skills for sure, which also has not always been my strong suit. And it is something that I have had to learn. But I think like being willing to connect to your clients and being willing to understand what their needs are as a business owner and the idiosyncrasies of any given business is what makes a good bookkeeper more than being good with money or being good with numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, because numbers are involved, but it's really just all about organizing them.
Yeah,
There's so many other business concepts that you deal with more so than adding, subtracting,
for
multiplying.
sure. And that's like what's so great about QuickBooks too, is that it does all that work for you for the most part.
Yep. Yep. I love it. I love it. Okay. So can we dive into your journey a little bit? Like, what has that been like since you started the academy and started your business? You know, share whatever you want to share on that whole journey.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So I started the academy in September of 2021. So my son was just about 3 months old when that whole thing started. And my daughter was home for that year. So I spent the first 6 months of my time in the academy marketing and advertising. I did not have a recurring client until March of 2022,
Okay.
minus my brother,
Okay.
who hired me to do cleanup work in like December. And so my first paycheck was $200 and
Okay.
it was absolutely celebrated. But it was, I just remember those first 6 months were really scary because I wasn't making a lot of money yet, but it was also a time that I will forever be grateful for because it gave me, when I could find the time in my day, whether it was during nap time or getting up early or staying up late, between, you know, hanging out with my kids, I learned how to market my business and I learned how to manifest what I wanted from my business and in my personal life. I learned how to network and just a lot of like really indispensable skills that as a business owner, I didn't know I needed to have. And one thing I remember specifically doing every night for a couple of months, probably, when I wanted to keep the fear of no clients yet at bay, was I would lay in my bed, like as I was going through like my falling asleep routine, and I would imagine myself as like a source, and I would project like tethers of tethers, I guess is enough, tethers to the business owners in my town. I'm in Reno, and a connection to them so that they would find me and would want me as their bookkeeper. And it felt really authentic and valuable, and eventually paid off, right? Like I eventually did get those clients, and it was just a way, like, I think that one really important part of being a business owner for me has been to feel connected to the town that I live in, because I didn't feel that as a teacher. And because teaching is so consuming, but being a business owner and working with other businesses has helped me to feel more connected to this town. And that has been probably my favorite part.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Building relationships with other people around you. And yeah,
For sure.
I love that. Okay. I know you have more to share on your journey, but before you dive into that stuff, do you have, looking back now, if you could tell yourself during that 6-month period of like how to get through that quicker, or maybe have gotten clients a little bit faster, what would you have gone back and told yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think trying anything and everything. I think that I was really nervous to like show my face, at least in the virtual world. I was more than happy to go to like in-person networking events when I could find the time, which honestly was tricky. So maybe working harder to like collaborate with my husband to find the time to go to in-person networking, because the thing is that like the more you put yourself out there, the more confident and comfortable you get with it. And I was really scared and bashful and afraid of judgment and like what people would think, especially, you know, people from my past thinking that I was not great with money or numbers and being like, what is she doing being a bookkeeper? And I think if I could go back, I would be like, they don't matter. Shut your mouth. Like, stop worrying about what they're thinking. If anything, they're going to be proud. And if they are like, what is she doing being a bookkeeper? Let them ask. And so I think if I could go back, I would just like pedal to the metal, doing all of the different kinds of marketing things that I could come up with.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I really like to keep diving into this a little bit more because, you know, as you know, you've been in the program for a while and even coached in the program with us. So you've seen other people go through the same journey as you've gone through, and not everyone is successful in our academy, right? And most of the time, if they're not, it's because they were never able to push past that issue that you had in that first 6 months. So what could you say to some of the people that are watching that think they might end up in that spot, or maybe they're in the academy now and they are in that spot? What do you think would be the best thing to tell them to help them to move forward?
I love that question. And I think that is a really valuable one. And those are the most disheartening moments when I would see somebody post about, you know, being afraid to do anything. And it is, I don't want to diminish anybody's experience, but it is such a waste of time to be scared. And being afraid can teach you a lot if you embrace it and do something about it. But if you let it run the show and you let it prohibit you from acts of bravery, which being a business owner absolutely is, you'll never get the business that you want. And I don't know. I think that for people who are struggling and have a lot of fear and a lot of doubt that is running the show, I think asking themselves like what the purpose of that fear is, and then envisioning what it would be like to go for it anyway. And I tend to be someone who, I talk about this with my sister, but I tend, like when my anxiety gets really bad, I catastrophize and I think of the worst possible outcome. But as a business owner, if they are afraid to market, if they are afraid to make that post because of what family, friends will think about, what's the worst that can happen? Someone will say you suck and you shouldn't do that. Okay, fine. Like,
Yeah.
what's the worst that can happen? You continue to not have clients, which is the situation that a lot of people are in, which is really crappy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the best that can happen is that they push through it and they get an influx of clients. And honestly, like on that note, I think a lot of, like, I know that a lot of people who would post about getting their first client, and I remember this too, it is scary when you get that first client because you have that rush of imposter syndrome for people like me who had no experience with this. But that's what the academy is for those moments. Like, if you have no idea what you're doing, great, because you have literally hundreds of people who will jump in to help you, whether they're mentors or fellow students or, admin, whatever. There is someone who will help you and answer your questions and like be your cheerleader. And fear has its place, but let it be your guide rather than your enemy. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
I love that. That's awesome. And do you feel like in your opinion, I always tell people that there's 100% success rate for those that don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that is true?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Full stop.
Awesome. So really, like when you have those fears and you have those doubts, the only way they will come true is if you just don't do anything and you give in to the fear. But if you push past it, like you're saying, and like you did, you will have results. There's 33 million businesses in the US. It's impossible to not succeed at this if you embrace that fear.
I agree. And that's the thing. It's like, I remember driving around town and seeing cars that would have like their business emblem.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's kind of like a before and after, where once you see it, you can't not see it. And so before I was a business owner, I never paid attention to that stuff. But once I became a bookkeeping business owner, I would see like, oh my gosh, there's that construction company and there's that landscaping business and there's that maid service, like all around town. And I could be like, that is my client. That is my potential client. And once you see the world of business owning as endless opportunities, I think that's when that fear of never getting clients that window can open up to let in the possibility of, like, you can even think about it as fear of no clients to fear of too many.
Yeah.
Because it can for sure get that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do have some students that they want clients, but they are also scared of them.
Yes.
You experience that as well, like you getting your first few clients?
I did. And one of my first clients was truth be told, more than I could handle. And I took her on. She was, I think, I went from like no clients to getting 3 in 1 month. And then I think I got 3 the next month and maybe even 2 or 3 the month after that. And she was in that first month in March of last year. And it was still, considered a small business, but it was like their revenue was a few million. She was accrual. Her books were a mess. And she wanted me to do basically like CFO type work. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And it was very overwhelming. And I got a lot of help and was able to help her business. But we actually ultimately, about 6 months into it, realized like it wasn't a good fit. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to have worked with her, but it was incredibly stressful.
Yeah, that was a difficult first client, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, after the 6 months, then you said you started to get some clients and they were kind of starting to come in quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how did that all go?
It was super fun when I would, and I can't even tell you like what it was that just opened the door, but I think it was all of the work around, like, truly, Tiffany, I think it was manifesting and so tirelessly working on it. Like I have my little planner right here, and something that I did a lot every day was for like every week in my planner, I would, like you can see it, I don't know, but I have like little sentences all around the border of every week of my planner
Awesome.
manifesting the reality that I wanted. And then it just seriously happened like that. And it was, I went from, like I said, nobody to 3 and then 3 more and then a couple more. And they were small for the most part, small clients that were, 100 or 150 a month. But as of April, I think I have 18 recurring monthly clients.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, congratulations. I love it.
Thank you.
So have you exceeded your teaching salary? What's
Yes, and I did that. That was a fun thing to realize as well. It took me 1 year to the month to pass my teaching salary.
Fantastic. And is that even including the 6-month like lag at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, no. Just yes, it is. It is. So yeah, because
Okay,
it went. I
awesome.
started in September of 21, and in September of 22, I made more than I did as a teacher. So
That's
1 full year.
fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing what you're making now
Yeah.
Okay.
So this, and it's, I don't need to quantify it, but as of April of this year, so just last month, I just made it over $6,000. It's
Awesome.
$6,002.75.
Very cool. Congratulations. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. So how much time does it take you to get the bookkeeping work done for those clients?
Well, so here's the other thing is that one of the other qualifications that I wanted from this dream job back before I found the academy was that I did not want to work full time. And I would say, so in April, I actually ended up hiring 2 part-time bookkeepers to work for me because I want to expand. But before I took them on, I would say in a busy week, I was probably working 20 hours a week.
Okay.
But more typically, I would say right around like 12 to 15 was a normal week for me.
Okay. And does that include like administrative and marketing stuff as well?
Yes. It was getting to the point where administrative and marketing, I think continues to be more time consuming than the actual bookkeeping, but that's just my choice, like my choice for what I want my business to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The actual bookkeeping work ends up being the smaller portion of the time. So
For
what I
sure.
always tell people is if you get to a point where, like you've got little kids at home, if you don't want to scale and grow, then you can just cut that part out post. So I didn't realize in my bookkeeping business just how little I had to work until I got pregnant with my twins.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm not taking on any more clients.
Yeah.
I'm not marketing. I'm responding to emails once a day. And then I batch did the bookkeeping and I had so much free time. I was like, this is insane. And at that point in time, we were making like, I know it was like $10,000 or $12,000 a month, maybe even a little bit more. And I still had like tons of free time because I just cut out all that stuff. And so it's perfect if you want to do that. But what typically happens when people get in here and they do that, and then they're like, wow, there's so much potential. I can't sit on this. And so you end up working more than you plan because you're putting more effort back into continuing to grow your business.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the double-edged sword or the double blunt edged sword, depending on how you want to make your business be what it is. So yeah, I would say like if I were only bookkeeping and if I were not to take on any more clients, I would say easily 10 hours a week, if that. But yeah, like I just hired these new bookkeepers on because I have grand plans for what's next and to keep bookkeeping. But I like so this is the other thing that I've learned. I hope it's okay that I talk about this, but one of the services that I offer is like I call it bookkeeping setup, and it's for small businesses who are either very new or on a very tight budget, and most of the time both. That they just don't, they're not comfortable enough, whether practically or emotionally, to hire on a bookkeeper to take care of their finances every month. And so instead, I help them to create their chart of accounts and make it what they want it to be. And then I offer a 1-hour tutorial via Zoom, and then a 30-minute follow-up within that month of that first hour. And I have had, I don't know, I would say probably 10 businesses accept this service that I offer. And the majority of them have been women. And they are so insecure about money, let alone how to run their business. And they're the ones who chronically say, like, I'm not good with numbers, and oh, this just isn't my thing. And I'm like, girl, yes, it is. You just haven't given yourself the opportunity to have the confidence to do it, because, like, you know, I am of a generation, hopefully one of the last ones, where we as women and girls in school have the subversive message that money isn't our thing and that a husband should take care of it, which is so belittling. And anyway, so like the next part of my journey as a business owner is to work specifically with women business owners to overcome those debilitating beliefs and educate them about their finances, and to help them understand like what their potential is and how to get there.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. And, you know, having a bookkeeping business is kind of like a gateway business, right?
Yeah,
And,
totally.
You know, yeah, if you know how to do all the bookkeeping and manage a business, you can start any business and really fully understand how to manage those businesses and the finances there. And so,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A gateway business. I like that. It's totally true.
That's awesome. So you kind of mentioned doing that. What are some of your other grand plans? Like, where do you see your business going financially in the next like couple of years, and your team? What does that look like in your mind?
It's a fun question. So I would like to make 100,000 this year. And I think that, and that's the other thing, is that, you know, like I was thinking about that first post in the Facebook group back when I was a brand new business owner, and you make it what you want it to be, but it was a bit of a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed aspiration. And once I started getting clients, I'm like, okay, now I understand what that work will entail. But yeah, getting over 100,000 this year, I think, is absolutely doable. But the way that I see myself doing that is for sure delegating, which I have already started. But like, you know, I was just describing to you, this next step for me is going to be consulting and collaborating with business owners one-on-one as well as in groups. And I would love to get to the point where I love public speaking, to be honest. And I know I'm a rarity in that, but I would love to, like, you know, go to summits and just local networking events where I can talk with business owners, whether they are women or men, or anywhere in between, and help them understand, like, give them a crash course in bookkeeping and to empower, because I think like hiding from your finances is a really common thing, especially as business owners, because it means you are responsible for taking out money for taxes. You don't have your boss, you know, so to speak, taking it out for you. And that's just like one of many aspects of finances as a business owner that people are afraid of. And I want to take away the shroud and become a voice here in Reno, if not at large. So that's the next step for me.
That's awesome. Well, you know, when I had my bookkeeping business, one of the things that I always wanted to do was go to the libraries, because the libraries offer all of these free trainings and free classes for business owners to get started. But unlike you, I do not like public speaking. So I didn't really ever make that something that I did marketing wise, but that would be something that you should look into. Go
That's
into
a good
libraries.
plan, actually.
Yeah, and the chambers, and there's always
Mhm.
groups that put on, free events for business owners, where they get educated on things like that. So
Yeah. And I mean, I will always be a teacher.
yeah,
And that's also how I see myself integrating my passion for teaching into being a bookkeeping business owner. And it's like, and the thing about like education and learning is that it's something that nobody can take away from you. And once you have it, it's your choice what you do with it. And I just think that is so freaking empowering. And I want to give that to the people.
yeah. I love that. That's awesome. Very cool. So, okay, we talked a lot about mindset. We talked about your earnings, your progress, your goals. Can you dive into a little bit about marketing? What you have had the most success with? Any tips on marketing that you would want to share for people?
Yeah, this is a fun question. So I think that there is no wrong way to market, and there is no absolute right way. And I think that for people who are just getting into owning their own business, the best piece of advice I can give is to try literally everything, and that you try what feels comfortable, but absolutely also try what is uncomfortable. Some things will feel very authentic and some will not fit, but you won't know until you actually do it. So I remember like when I was doing the the course for, is that what you would call it? Yeah, the course that you provide, you have a lot of different options. And I remember like I spent quite a bit of time doing the cold call emails to any business owners that I could find here in my area, as well as like honestly Nevada at large. And it was educational for me. I learned a lot, and I also learned that it was like doing cold call emails taught me a lot, but it was not my choice of marketing. However, through that, I got one response that actually paid off, which was with a local CPA. And I remember meeting with him 1 month into my journey, and I will never forget, and I will never let go of my gratitude for meeting with him, because he was just so generous with his knowledge and with his willingness to work with me. And so like, kind of a roundabout way of saying like what has been most powerful for me has been in-person networking, and word of mouth has been a big part of it. But as far as like virtual advertising, I was very, very consistent with my Facebook and Instagram marketing, where I would post just about every day for a few months there. And that's definitely fallen off the wayside because I kind of got to a point where I didn't want to grow anymore.
Yeah.
So that has been really valuable, but also like finding platforms to advertise. The two most prolific for me were being listed as a pro advisor on QuickBooks. Has been super fruitful for me,
Wow,
actually.
that's great.
Yeah. And then also Thumbtack. I don't know if, do you use Thumbtack at all? That was, I would say I got like 2 or 3 of my biggest paying clients through Thumbtack.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's interesting. And I totally agree with everything you're saying. You got to try everything, all
Yeah.
of marketing. It can be overwhelming, but you don't know what your particular style is going to be like, what your personality is going to be like. And everybody's different. So some things may be easier to you than they are to somebody else, and vice versa. So trying everything in the beginning is the best. And I've had students tell me that Thumbtack and Bark was great for them. I've had other students hate those platforms. So it's like, that's why we provide so many different options and ideas for people to get clients, because if you try it all, you'll find 1 or 2 methods that really stick and work really well for you.
Exactly.
I'm the same way about the in-person networking too. I grew my business through that method a lot in the beginning
Yeah.
because it felt easy. You can connect with a person one-on-one and you can build that relationship so fast. But yeah, there's so many different ways, and you just try them all until you find one that works for you and your schedule and your personality, and then you just stay consistent.
Yes. Yeah. And consistency is really important. Whether like, and consistency can even be a term that can be interpreted in a couple different ways. Like, I think consistency in doing something every day, whether that is posting or looking for different ways to find clients. And that's like, that was something that I noticed as well when students would post about like how to market themselves, but they would say, but I don't want to do this. And I'm like, well, then what are you talking about? Like, you have to be willing to try something. Being uncomfortable is a big part of being a business owner, which is what I have learned. Like, if you want to grow, growing is uncomfortable, and being willing to put yourself out there and to tell anyone who will listen that you're a bookkeeper will only serve you. And I think that like a lot of people, when they're getting started, don't feel like they are a bookkeeper yet. And so they don't say it because they're afraid someone will ask them questions. But that's the other thing about being a bookkeeper is that, or like being a business owner, period, is that when you're talking to other people and when you're doing networking, whether it's virtual or in person, I think like the feel that I get from a lot of people is that they're afraid someone will ask them questions and they won't know how to answer it. But listen, sister, you respond to a question by asking a question. And if you're not sure how to answer it, you would say, you know, just ask them questions about their own business, and they will feel like you are listening, that you are a compassionate business owner, that you will serve them because you're invested in what they want. And that is really powerful as well.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. I was going to ask you something else about that. Can't remember what it was, but my next question is kind of about your skills. What skills do you feel like you have developed since being in the academy and starting your business?
A lot. The bookkeeping itself, obviously, and getting comfortable with using QuickBooks, I would say, has been a huge undertaking that is indispensable. But also, I mean, kind of like what I was just saying is when you do actually get to the point where you're talking with business owners and they're, you know, getting a feel for whether you're going to be a good fit, I think learning, that's the other thing. Like, I would say one of the most valuable things I got from the course was the list of questions when you're on a discovery call with a potential client. When I didn't have a lot of confidence yet in myself, one thing that I could rely on was that list of questions. And because the feedback that I got and the way that I think I got a lot of those clients early on was, wow, you ask really good questions. And like, it makes them feel like you really know what you're doing, even if you're not quite there yourself yet. And so I think like a skill that I have developed is listening and getting a really good feel for what the client actually needs so that I can fulfill that for them instead of just like straight up bookkeeping and categorizing and reconciling every month, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Yeah. A lot of students talk about having just overall more confidence as well day to day. I remembered my question that I was going to ask you. We were talking about like, you know, feeling like discomfort or nervous about talking to people at networking events, and just, you know, putting yourself out there as a business owner is, you know, nerve-wracking sometimes, but it's worth it. Right. So like the benefits you get from forcing yourself to do that is worth it. So I wanted to kind of tap into that a little bit. Aside from the, you know, financial stuff, obviously you've exceeded your teacher salary. You work way less than you did as a teacher. What are some other benefits that you, your family, your kids have all experienced because of your willingness to put yourself out there and do this?
I mean, there's a lot to that question. I think the one that pops out to me the most is I get to be there for my kids as much as I want to. And I have learned I do not like working from home.
Yeah, it can
And
be
so I'm
hard.
actually like right now, I am a member of like a cooperative working space that is like a monthly membership. And I have, you know, a whole bunch of different offices that I can choose from. And I love it because it makes me feel like I'm not at home all the time, which is really nice. But that being said, if I don't want to work on a Thursday afternoon, then I don't. And I can take my kids on an adventure and I can have, you know, I can choose to do that work that I was going to do at a different time. And also something that I did not plan on that I think is one of the most powerful things is I have the freedom to make my business what I want it to be, and my kids get to see that. And I grew up, both of my parents actually are business owners, but the word entrepreneur was not a word that we said in my house, and they were both slaves to the paycheck. And I am so excited to teach my kids that they can create a job that they want. And that has like honestly been, I think, the biggest, most empowering thing. And for my husband as well, like he is an employee, like he's a W-2 employee, but since I have started this, he has ideas for how he wants to make his own income and how he wants to become independently wealthy. And it's just been like, as my kids get older, they will see that we live a comfortable life, but that their mom and dad are around all the time. And I didn't get to have my parents around, nor did I get to live a comfortable life as a kid. And I'm just so excited to like give them that opportunity to see that.
That is awesome. I love it. What a cool ripple effect.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I see that a lot. Either the husbands either retire and help, you know, stay home and corral the kids while, you know, they're working on their bookkeeping business, or they end up starting another business as well. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's exciting. So if someone is watching this and they already have a business, they're not looking to start a bookkeeping business, but maybe they want a bookkeeper, how do they reach out to you?
That's a great question. My business name is Harmony Bookkeeping, and my email is a bit of a mouthful, info@harmonybookkeepingkh, which are my initials, katehart.com. I'm actually in the middle of revamping my website, so I don't have a website right now, but my Instagram is harmony_bookkeeping, so they can reach out to me there as well.
Awesome. Okay, great. And then if there's anybody watching this that's looking into the opportunity of starting their own bookkeeping business, what would you say to them about jumping into the academy and getting started?
Let fear be your bestie and do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate all your time and letting us dive into your life and your family and your journey. This was really, really helpful. I know that everyone in the academy now is going to love hearing this, and everybody considering doing this is going to really get a lot of value from this. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I hope it is valuable. I am
Yes.
passionate and am happy to share.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And thank you for everything, Tiffany. You single-handedly changed my life.
Oh, thank you so much. That helps me move on. Keep going.
Good, 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 good.
So if you guys really enjoyed this interview and you liked what you heard here, and you are considering wanting to find more information about starting your own bookkeeping business and or joining the Bookkeeper Academy, and you want to learn your options, click the link here and book a free discovery call with our team. We would love to talk to you and see if this is something that would work for your family.